Lovely Rose Garden. I'm Avalon.
And I'm Ray.
And we're on chapter 51. In the last chapter, Phoebe defeated Cain. Cain was killed by Chaol, who then had a moral quandary about it for no fucking reason. And Kaltane was set up by Parrington to take the fall for the poisoning, all on her own.
Girl, you didn't even need to do all that.
You didn't need to do all that. And she was really obvious about it. You couldn't wait to confront him about that until you weren't in front of everybody. This part of that's on you. Anyway.
Especially because, was anyone gonna investigate who poisoned?
I don't think so.
Who poisoned fucking Phoebe? Did anyone really care?
Maybe Dorian would have looked into it, but then,
Dorian's also dumb as a sack of bricks, so he wouldn't have found out.
I wasn't gonna count on that. The next morning, Dorian kept his chin high as his father stared at him. He didn't lower his gaze, no matter how many silent seconds ticked by, after his father had allowed Cain to toy with and hurt Phoebe for so long when she'd clearly been drugged. It was a miracle Dorian hadn't snapped yet, but he needed this audience with his father. "Well?" asked the king at last. "I wish to know what will happen to Chaol for killing Cain." His father's black eyes gleamed. "What do you think should happen to him?" "Nothing," said Dorian. "I think he killed him to defend the assassin." "You think the life of an assassin is worth more than that of a soldier?" I mean, I would have been more like, I think he saw a threat coming toward the crown prince and intervened.
Yeah.
Dorian's sapphire gaze hardened. "No, but I believe there was no honor in stabbing her in the back after she'd won. And if he ever found out that Parrington or his father had sanctioned it, or somehow played a hand in Kaltane drugging her," Dorian's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Honor?" The king of Aderlin stroked his beard. "And would you have slain me if I tried to kill her in such a manner?" "You're my father," he said carefully. "I would trust that the choice you made was correct." "What a cunning liar you are! Almost as good as Parrington." "So you won't punish Chaol?" "I see no reason why I should rid myself of a perfectly capable captain of the guard."
Yeah,
Was there any discussion about him being in trouble for this?
Yeah.
I
feel like I missed something.
It feels like we just kind of jumped ahead a chapter or something, but nope, I'm making sure we're on the right page, and yeah, why is Dorian worried?
He's like, I miss my boyfriend. It's like...
He's right there, he never... What?
What?
Okay, I feel like there was a scene omitted here that should have been included where Chaol is facing some kind of consequence, and then Dorian goes to plead his case of look, he was just defending, clearly this Cain was gonna kill somebody in cold blood, and Chaol acted in their defense. That's what he's supposed to do. Anyway.
The lowest stake out of all of the stakes in this book. Will Chaol get in trouble for killing Cain? No.
No, it's not.
No,
why even bring it up?
That was never gonna happen.
Dorian sighed. "Thank you, father." The gratitude in his eyes was genuine. "Is there anything else?" asked the king offhandedly. Dorian glanced at the window, then back at his father, steeling his nerve once more, the second reason he'd come. "I want to know what you're going to do with the assassin," he said.
So the actual reason.
And his father smiled in a way that made Dorian's blood run cold. "The assassin," his father mused. "She was rather disgraceful at the duel. I don't know if I can have a blubbering woman as my champion, poison or no. If she'd been really good, she would have noticed the poison before she drank. Perhaps I should send her back to Endovier." Dorian's temper flared with dizzying speed. "You're wrong about her," he began, but then he shook his head. "You'll not see her otherwise, no matter what I tell you." "Why should I see an assassin as anything but a monster? I brought her here to do my bidding, not to meddle in the life of my son and empire." Dorian bared his teeth. He'd never dared to look at his father like this. It thrilled him, and as his father slowly sat down, Dorian wondered if the king was considering whether he had become a genuine concern. To Dorian's surprise, he realized he didn't care. Perhaps the time had come for him to start questioning his father.
Hadn't you before?
Yeah, I thought
thought-
you were already on pretty tense terms
I
with
still
him.
remember back in the beginning of the book that you kind of weren't on good terms with him. You've probably been doing a lot of questioning already. God damn, she really did just forget, like...
Just boop the reset button on Dorian, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
Do you mean maybe it's time he starts taking action against his father? Like... She's not a monster, Dorian said. Everything she's done, she did to survive. Survive? Is that the lie she told you? She could have done anything to survive, but she chose killing. She enjoyed killing. She has you at her beck and call, doesn't she? Oh, how clever she is. What a politician she'd have made if she'd been born a man. Aren't there ladies in the court? What the fuck is Calthane doing here?
I mean,
Does the queen not get involved in politics? A deep-throated...
Very, very lazy...
Oh, he's a
like,
sexist.
Misogyny, even though, like, there's plenty of legitimate misogyny in this book from the author.
A deep-throated growl rippled from Dorian. You don't know what you're talking about. I have no attachment to her. But in that one sentence, Dorian made his mistake, and he knew that his father had found his new weak spot, the overwhelming terror that Phoebe would be ripped from him. His hands slackened at his sides. The King of Aderlin looked at the Crown Prince. I shall send her my contract whenever I get around to it. Until then, you'd do well to keep your mouth shut about it, boy. Dorian drowned in the cold rage that lay inside of him. Yet an image came vividly to his mind. Nehemia handing Phoebe her staff at the duel. Nehemia was no fool. Like him, she knew that symbols held a special kind of power. Don't put yourself on Nehemia's level. That's insulting. Though Phoebe might have been his father's champion, she'd gained the title using a weapon from Elway, and while Nehemia might be playing a game that she had no chance of winning, Dorian couldn't deny that he greatly admired the princess for daring to play in the first place. Perhaps he might someday work up the nerve to demand retribution for what his father had done to those rebels in Elway. Not today, not yet, but maybe he could make a start. So he faced his father and kept his head held high as he said, Parrington wishes to use Nehemia as some sort of hostage in order to make the Elway rebels obey. Yes, is that not fucking obvious?
Isn't that generally what...
Is that not what she's been the whole time?
She's basically been a political hostage.
His father cocked his head. Does he now? It's an interesting idea. Do you agree? Again, with all the characterization that we've been given of the king when he's not on the page, my assumption was that he was already doing that. Because that would make sense. Though Dorian's palms began sweating, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks cold and ready to drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. Anyway. He schooled his features into neutrality as he said, No, I don't. I think we're better than that. Are we? Do you know how many soldiers and supplies I've lost thanks to those rebels? I do, but to use Nehemia like that is too risky. The rebels might use it to gain allies in other kingdoms, and Nehemia is beloved by her people. If you're worried about losing soldiers and supplies, then you'll lose far more if Parrington's plan ignites a full-on rebellion in Elway. We'd be better off trying to win over Nehemia, trying to work with her to get the rebels to back off. That won't happen if we hold her hostage. That's almost a smart plan. Except you're talking to the fucking Dark Lord, who literally does not care.
Yeah.
Silence fell, and Dorian tried not to fidget as his father studied him. Every heartbeat felt like a hammer striking his body. At last his father nodded. I shall order Parrington to stop his planning, then. Dorian almost sagged with...
Why?
Oh, never mind, Dorian's gotta get a win, I guess. Dorian almost sagged with relief, but he kept his face blank, kept his words steady as he said...
This makes no sense.
Thank you for hearing me out. Yeah, they have the princess in basically captivity.
Why would the king do this?
Well,
why?
And furthermore, just the fact that she is there already is already kind of a if you make us mad, we have a very important political figure at our hands. Like, this absolutely would be a, hey, the rebellion either needs to stop or we're just gonna kill her. Like, if you're still having rebel attacks despite the fact that she's there, then her life is already in danger and they're already aware of that.
Yeah.
What would even taking her as a hostage entail beyond what they've done already? Locking her up? She is constantly under guard everywhere she goes. Like, thank you for hearing me out. His father didn't reply, and without waiting for his dismissal, the prince turned on his heel and left. POV switch tilde. Phoebe tried not to wince at the pain that shot through her shoulder and leg as she awoke. Swaddled in blankets and bandages, she glanced at the clock on the mantelpiece. It was almost 1 in the afternoon. I feel like there's a emo song about 1 in the afternoon.
It's 9 in the afternoon.
Ah, damn. So close. I just destroyed my cred. Her jaw hurt as she opened her mouth. Phoebe didn't need a mirror to know she was covered in nasty bruises, not bruisers.
Covered in them nasty bruisers.
Yes, please. She frowned, and her face throbbed at the movement. Undoubtedly, she looked hideous. She tried unsuccessfully to sit up. Everything hurt. Ah, yes, because that's what she should be worried about. Oh, man, I look ugly. Her arm was in a sling, and her thigh stung as her legs moved under the covers. She didn't remember much of what had happened after the duel yesterday, but at least she wasn't dead, either by Cain or the king's order. Her dreams last night had been filled with Nehemia and Elena. Gay. God, I wish. Though more often than not they disappeared into visions of demons and the dead, and those things Cain had said. The nightmares were so terrible that Phoebe barely slept, despite her pain and exhaustion. She wondered what had become of Elena's amulet. She had a feeling the nightmares were due to its absence, and wished repeatedly for it to be restored to her, even though Cain was now dead. Yeah, what the fuck did happen to that? Because, it's kind of a priceless artifact.
Whatever.
That she should in no way have had access to. That's gotta raise some questions.
Yeah.
The door to her chambers opened, and she found Nehemia standing in the doorway.
Whatever happened to her, her personal servant that was basically the fairy godmother?
I don't know.
Whatever happened to her?
And she found Nehemia standing in the doorway. The princess only smiled slightly at her as she closed the bedroom door and approached. Fleetfoot lifted her head, her tail slapping against the bed as she wagged it in earnest.
Dog!
Hey, yo, Phoebe said in Elway. How are you feeling? Nehemia replied in the common tongue, without a hint of her accent. Fleetfoot climbed over Phoebe's sore legs to greet the princess. Exactly how I look, Phoebe said, her mouth aching at the movement. Nehemia took a seat on the edge of the mattress. As it shifted beneath her, Phoebe winced. Recovery wasn't going to be easy. Fleetfoot, done licking and sniffing at Nehemia, curled up in a ball between them and went to sleep. Phoebe buried her fingers in her velvet soft ears. I won't waste time dancing around the truth, Nehemia said. I saved your life at the duel. She had a hazy memory of Nehemia's fingers making strange symbols in the air.
Doing the fucking jutsu.
I didn't hallucinate all of that, and you saw everything, too? Phoebe tried to sit up a little higher, but found it too painful to move even an inch. No, you didn't, the princess said. And yes, I saw everything that you saw. My gifts enable me to see what others normally cannot. Yesterday, the bloodbane Kaltain put in your wine made you see it too, what lurks beyond the veil of this world. I don't think Kaltain intended that effect, but it reacted to your blood in that way. Magic calls to magic. Oh, here we have the first of SJM's
arc words.
Arc words, like calls to like. Magic calls to magic. Phoebe shifted uncomfortably at the words. Why did you pretend to not understand our language all these months? Phoebe asked, eager to change the subject, but also wondering why the question stung as much as her wounds. It was originally a defense, Nehemia said, gently setting her hand on Phoebe's good arm. You'd be surprised how much people are willing to reveal when they think you can't understand them. But with each day that I pretended to not know anything, being around you became harder and harder. Because she wanted to confess her love! But yeah, like, is this not the obvious answer? You couldn't figure that one out?
It's almost like she was gathering intel because she was being kept as a political hostage.
But why make me give you lessons? Again, obvious answer incoming. Nehemia looked up at the ceiling. Because I wanted a friend. Because I liked you. To spend time with you, you idiot! So you truly were reading that book when I came across you in the library. Nehemia nodded. I was doing research on the word marks, as you call them in your language. I lied to you when I said I didn't know anything about them. I know all about them. I know how to read them and how to use them. My entire family does, but we keep it a secret, passed down from generation to generation. They are only to be used as a last defense against evil, or in the gravest of illnesses. And here with Magic Band, well, even though the word marks are a different kind of power, I'm sure that if people discovered I was using them, I'd be imprisoned for it. I mean, duh. Again, obvious, if you think about it for more than a few seconds. And really, this is like, it would be so easy to deliver this exposition just to make sure that the reader understands, because, you know, again, this is aimed at teenagers. Yeah. Maybe they haven't put all this together yet. So you could still include this exposition, but you could include it in a way that doesn't make Selena seem like an idiot who can't put two and two together. Yeah. By having her say, oh, like, I thought I saw you doing something with your hands. Was that some kind of magic? And Nehemia being like, yes, I am able to use magic. And then her being like, oh, so when you were reading that book in the library, were you doing research on this? And Nehemia confirming it. Yeah. Like, instead of having it come off as Selena being completely clueless as to what was going on, have her share her suspicion and then Nehemia confirm it. Yeah. That way the reader still gets the exposition and confirmation of what was going on. Your main character
doesn't look like she was just born yesterday.
Yeah. Like, I am not one of those people who's going to be like, you know, exposition is always bad and you should always show versus telling. There are times when it is perfectly acceptable to tell. Exposition is necessary to fully understand a story. There are just ways to do it that don't make your characters look stupid. Phoebe tried to sit up straighter, cursing herself for being unable to move without wanting to faint from pain. You were using them? Again, yes, she just said that. Nehemia nodded gravely. We keep them a secret because of the terrible power that they wield. Terrible in that it could be used for good or evil, though most have used their power for wicked deeds.
Terrible in the classic sense. Yeah. Just powerful.
Since the moment I arrived here, I was aware that someone was using the word marks to call forth the demons from the other worlds, realms beyond our realm. That fool Cain knew enough about the word marks to summon the creatures, but didn't know how to control them and send them back. I've spent months banishing and destroying the creatures he summoned. That is why I've sometimes been so absent. So once again, Nehemia should have just been the main character, because that sounds way more interesting and fun to follow. Mm-hmm. And he did seem to be controlling them in the duel. Like, he pointed to Phoebe, and they weren't attacking him. Yeah. You know?
They were clearly allied with him at some point.
So one would assume that some degree, anyway. Just by virtue of being the summoner, you have some degree of control. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have torn him apart a long time ago. Yeah. But okay. Shame burned on Phoebe's cheeks. How could she ever have believed Nehemia was the one killing the champions? At least she's not going to go back and forth on this anymore. Phoebe lifted her right hand so she could see the scars on it. That was why you didn't ask questions the night my hand was bitten. You used the word marks to heal me. I still don't know how or where you came across the knick-knack paddywhack, but I think that's a tale for another time. Nehemia clicked her tongue. The marks you found under your bed were drawn by me. Phoebe jolted a bit at that. She hissed as her body gave a collective, miserable throb of pain. Those symbols were for protection. You have no idea what a nuisance it was to have to keep redrawing them every time you wash them away.
Okay, I'm like, she's all like, I should have never doubted.
And then she does.
Immediately was all like, how could you?
Make a liar out of me.
Literally. She's just like, oh, I shouldn't have ever doubted her. By the way, I'm the one who drew the marks under your bed.
Doubts.
Doubts.
Press X to doubt. A smile tugged on the edges of Nehemia's full lips. Without them, I think the knick-knack paddywhack would have been drawn to you far sooner. Why? Because Cain hated you, of course, and wanted to eliminate you from the competition. I wish he weren't dead, so I might ask him where he learned to rip open portals like that. When the poison made you hover between worlds, his very presence somehow brought those creatures to the in-between to shred you apart. Though after all he's done, I think he deserved Kaol running him through like that. Phoebe looked toward the bedroom door. She still hadn't seen Kaol since yesterday. Had the king punished him for all that he had done to help her? No.
No.
That man cares for you more than either of you realize, Nehemia said, a smile in her voice. Phoebe's face burned. Nehemia cleared her throat. I suppose you wish to know how I saved you? If you're so willing, Phoebe said, and the princess grinned. With the word marks, I was able to open a portal into one of the realms of the other world and let through Elena, first queen of Aderlin. Okay, so yes, Nehemia was the one who summoned her. So the amulet did fuck all.
The amulet was useless.
The amulet has just been stopping her from having bad dreams. That's it.
It's just a fucking... It's a glorified dream catcher?
I guess so.
Damn.
You know her? Phoebe raised an eyebrow. No, but she answered my call for help. Not all realms are full of darkness and death. Some are filled with creatures of good, beings that, if our need is great enough, will follow us into Aeriel to help in our task. She heard your plea for help long before I opened the portal. Is it possible to go to these other worlds? Phoebe vaguely recalled the word gate she'd stumbled across in that book months and months ago. Oh, look, it's a setup for Crescent City, House of Dumb and Stupid, whatever the fuck that thing is. Because I know that SJM has started crossing over with her stories. And I'm like, on the one hand, being someone who also wants to do that, I kind of respect that you're setting it up early. But also, none of the characters or worlds are distinct enough for me to really give a shit about going between them.
Yeah, it's like, what, this is a world, where fairies are way more powerful than people and people want them destroyed, and then there's another universe where fairies are more powerful than people and people want them destroyed.
But they won that war.
And then, I don't know what the plot of Crescent City is. I can only imagine that fairies are more powerful than people and people want them destroyed.
As far as I can tell, Crescent City seems to be kind of like a urban fantasy murder mystery kind of thing. So they have like everything. They got werewolves, they got fairies, they got angels, they got like all of it.
Well.
Which is, I guess, slightly different, but also...
But I can only imagine that fairies are the most powerful, and the humans, because they are the least powerful, want them destroyed.
You know what? During our extras episode, we'll look up a plot synopsis. And we'll see.
If I'm right. I don't know.
If you're right, everyone has to donate $1 to the coffee.
Yeah. If I'm right, you have to donate $1 to the coffee.
Anyway. Nehemia studied her carefully. I don't know. My schooling isn't yet completed, but the queen was both in and not in this world. She was in the in-between, where she could not fully cross over, nor could the creatures that you saw. It takes an enormous amount of power to open a true portal to let something through.
Well, we got ourselves a portal.
And even then, the portal will close after a moment. Cain could open it long enough for the knick-knack paddywhack to come through, but then it would shut. So I had to open it long enough to send it back. We've been playing a cat-and-mouse game for months. She rubbed her temples. You have no idea how exhausting it's been. Nehemia main character.
Nehemia's actually the main character. Can't believe we had to deal with this bitch Phoebe the entire time.
Cain summoned all those things at the duel, didn't he? Nehemia contemplated the question. Perhaps. They might have been already waiting. But I could only see them because of the bloodbane that Caltain gave me. Now we're just repeating shit.
Yeah.
Which is another way that SJM pads out her books. I don't know, Alentia. Nehemia sighed and stood. She doesn't... Fine. That's too good of a name for her, but okay. All I know is that Cain knew the secrets of my people's power that has long been forgotten in the lands of the north, and that troubles me. At least he's dead, Phoebe offered. Words, God, I'm sorry, it's hard. Then swallowed. But in that place, Cain didn't look like Cain. He looked like a demon. Why? Perhaps the evil he kept summoning seeped into his soul and twisted him into something he was not. He talked about me like he knew everything. Phoebe clenched the blankets. Something flickered in Nehemia's gaze. Sometimes the wicked will tell us things just to confuse us, to haunt our thoughts long after we face them. He would be delighted to know you're still fretting over what nonsense he said. Nehemia patted her hand. Don't give him the satisfaction of knowing that he's still troubling you. Put those thoughts from your mind.
Him straight up being all like the devil will just tell you lies. I'm sorry, I went to enough Sunday school to know that this is just repackaged, like, Christian shit.
Just crazy because she's Jewish. But, I don't know. I don't know enough about...
Is she Jewish, or is she
yes.
just... Oh. Huh.
Yes, she is confirmed. She is Jewish.
Huh. Okay.
At least the king doesn't know about any of this. I can't imagine what he'd do if he had access to that kind of power.
How do you know that the king isn't the one who told Cain? Would that not make sense?
Yeah. I'm just like...
Clearly he and Parrington are in cahoots. I can imagine a great deal, Nehemia said softly. Do you know what the word mark is that burned on your forehead? Weird. I don't think that's me. I think that's the sentence.
Yeah.
Phoebe stiffened.
No, do you?
Nehemia gave her a weighing look. No, I do not, but I've seen it there before. It seems to be a part of you, and I do worry what the king thinks of it. It's a miracle he hasn't questioned it further. Phoebe's blood went cold, and Nehemia quickly added, Don't worry. If he wanted to question you, he would have done it already. Yeah, while she was passed out?
Yeah.
Phoebe let out a shuddering breath.
Why are you really here, Nehemia?
The princess was quiet for a moment.
Political prisoner.
I will not claim ties of allegiance to the King of Aderlin. You know this already, and I'm not afraid to tell you that I came to Rifthold only for the excellent view it offered of his movements, of his plans.
You truly came here to spy?
Phoebe whispered. If you want to put it that way, there is nothing I wouldn't do for my country, no sacrifice too great to keep my people alive and out of slavery, to keep another massacre from happening. Pain flickered across her eyes. Phoebe's heart twisted.
You're the bravest person I've ever met. Hey, Nehemia, don't you think it's weird that you're not the main character?
Nehemia stroked Fleetfoot's coat. My love for Elwë drowns out my fear of the King of Aderlin, but I will not involve you, Alentia. Phoebe almost sighed with relief, though it shamed her to feel that way. Our paths might be entwined, but I think you must continue to travel your own road for now, adjust to your new position. Phoebe nodded and cleared her throat.
I won't tell anyone about your powers.
Nehemia smiled sadly. And there shall be no more secrets between us. When you are better, I'd like to hear how you got entangled with Elena. She glanced down at Fleetfoot. Do you mind if I take her for a walk? I need to feel the wind on my face today.
Of course, Phoebe said. She's been cooped up here all morning.
She's been cooped up here the entire book.
As if the dog understood, she jumped off the bed and sat at Nehemia's feet. I'm glad to have you as my friend, Alentia, the princess said. Okay, we get it. She has a special name. You don't have to keep hammering it in every time they speak.
I'm even gladder to have you guarding my back, Phoebe said, fighting a yawn. Thank you for saving my life, twice now actually, or perhaps more. Phoebe frowned. Do I even want to know how many times you secretly saved me from one of Cain's creatures?
Not if you want to sleep tonight. Nehemia kissed the top of her head before walking to the door, foot in tow. Their chemistry, Your Honor! Nehemia still deserves better, don't get me wrong. But there's so much chemistry. I care them. Why isn't this ship canon? Oh, because I like it, that's why. The princess paused in the doorway, though, and tossed something to Phoebe. Oh, guess. Take a fucking guess. What did she give to Phoebe?
I don't know. What the fuck?
The amulet.
Ugh.
I would put money on it. This belongs to you. One of my guards picked it up after the duel. It was the Eye of Elena. Phoebe wrapped a hand around the hard metal of the amulet. Thank you. When Nehemia had...
Yeah, it didn't do shit. Congratulations. Here's it back.
When Nehemia had left, Phoebe smiled, despite all that she had just learned, and closed her eyes. The amulet gripped in her hand, she slept more soundly than she had in months. Because that's all it fucking does.
It's a fucking dream catcher.
And that's it for this chapter. We are 52, 53, 54, 55. 4 chapters, and then the bonus content, and then we are done, and we can start recording Cinderella Boy, most of which will be available to supporters only, but we will post the first video of it publicly so you guys can get a taste and possibly maybe consider supporting us on Ko-fi, Patreon, or right here on YouTube to get more. Thanks for sticking with us this long. Keep growing until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.